I can put my new graphics up here.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if Grogu can't have his very own panel
Where's his meet and greet, seriously? Oh, they nerfed Dash.
But he wasn't even on the old cover. So upgrade.
Huh?
Hilo.
Oh, no, he's not.
He's not.
You're right.
Who knows Legends books now?
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Last Week in Star Wars. I'm Alex.
I'm Molly.
And we're going to be talking mostly about Star Wars Celebration this week. That's the big news came out. All of the panels were finally announced, which is great because that means we can start planning our own celebration.
Yes. And interesting that they chose to announce all the panels the day after we made the Lightning Lane reservations, but I'm over it.
I think our Lightspeed reservations worked out okay, but yeah, it would have been nice to know the schedule first. Anyway, before we get into that, we did want to talk about just some fun little life updates, little adventures we went on this past week, because we went to see Ben Schwartz and Friends, his improv comedy show, and that's Star Wars adjacent because he voiced BB-8.
Sure.
So I feel like it's worth talking about.
Yeah, the show was really fun. The guests were great.
Colton Dunn was there.
Yeah,
who
I was trying to remember all their names.
It is also Star Wars adjacent, kind of, for us, because I saw that he was a Star Wars fan on Twitter when the Book of Boba Fett was airing, and we are big fans of his from Parks and Recreation and Superstore. Mm-hmm. So I just hit him up and I was like, do you want to talk about Book of Boba Fett with us? And he was like, yes. And we've met him one other time since then. Super nice, so funny. So it was great to see him live from afar, mm-hmm. along with Ben and Lauren Lapkus. But yeah, that was a great time. If he's coming to your city, it was a great show. As long as you like improv comedy, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I do. Before the show, we went out and met up with one of our book club members, Cyrus. If you're watching, shout out to Cyrus. But it was great to meet you. It's always fun to meet people in person and just actually get to interact offline, which is also one of my favorite things about Star Wars Celebration. Mm-hmm. Is just it's so easy to think of the Star Wars fandom as just like the online experience,
right?
And it's not.
Yeah.
Going to Celebration, I'm like, yeah, this is what the Star Wars fandom is like, and it's so much fun.
It really nourishes your soul doing an event like that. Just being in the same physical space as all the other fans and like hearing random conversations and no one's arguing with each other. That like the internet seems to all be arguments, and it's kind of the opposite at like a big fan convention. Everyone's kind of like celebrating stuff. So
it's all like I've heard arguments there, but it's all like good fun arguments.
Yeah, good faith, good
yeah,
fun.
Like and not real arguments. I mean, like I'm sure Goose and I from Triad of the Force are going to be yelling at each other about something at some point, but sure. Like in a fun way.
Yeah.
But that's a good segue into our last weekend news, which is all about the celebration panels. So I'm just going to run through the major panels. On Friday, we have The Mandalorian and Grogu. There's two publishing panels, one all about manga, which is interesting, and then one just Lucasfilm Publishing.
I can put my new graphics up here.
Oh, yeah.
That I worked really hard on.
Yeah, please do. And there is an animation panel. On Saturday, we have one about Andor, one about Ahsoka, and then Bit Reactor is doing a panel about their upcoming video game. And then on Sunday, the main panel of the day is Visions Volume 3. So that's the big overall view of Star Wars Celebration. What's your initial reaction to all that?
I think it's less panels than I guess I expected, but I'm not upset about that. I'm a little bit relieved to see that they're not trying to cram too many things in there.
I do feel a little bit of disappointment that there's not just a Lucasfilm panel like they've done in the past, like a Lucasfilm showcase, where we've been hearing all this talk about the Sean Levy movie and like the Simon Kinberg trilogy that's on the way that has been like pseudo confirmed. But yeah, I wanted just to take some time to like clear things up and fill in the fans on what to really expect in the coming years. So
yeah,
I'm a little disappointed that we're going to be talking about The Mandalorian and Grogu, which I'm excited to see it, but that's a project that I feel like we know a decent bit about. Like, we're very familiar with those characters at this point.
I guess there's an element of a lot of that information has just kind of leaked on the internet. It's never been like officially announced. So I think it's smart for them to kind of stick to what they know is happening and what they know is officially like in the works, and maybe not point too much attention at any of the new projects.
I definitely understand that, given the amount of stuff that has leaked, but then like Kathleen Kennedy talked about the Kinberg trilogy and the Sean Levy movie in that Entertainment Weekly article. I forget.
Well, only because she kind of had to, right?
I know,
like
but
the whole reason, the whole reason why she did that is because she probably just was like fed up and was like, I'm gonna set the record straight real quick. But for an event like Star Wars Celebration, I kind of understand them not talking about. Now, the Rey movie, I feel like they should have talked about it, because that seems like it is definitely happening, and they talked about it at the last Celebration.
Right.
So, like, yeah, the Rey movie, the
Dawn of the Jedi.
Dawn of the Jedi. Filoni's movie, his New Republic movie, maybe not, because we're focusing more on Mando Grogu first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that there's just so much information out there, and I feel like Celebration would have been a great time for Lucasfilm to take control of that narrative and be like, look, here is what's happening. Here's what to expect. Like, it's subject to change. Of course it is. But like, this is what we're looking at right now. Don't announce anything new.
Yeah.
Don't do that. But just lay out the groundwork for the next few years. I think that would have been good.
I mean, never say never. They might surprise us with something because there isn't a dedicated like Lucasfilm showcase panel.
That is kind of my, like, I'm not going to get my hopes up for it for the Mandalorian and Grogu panel, but I'm like, maybe they will very heavily focus on that, which makes sense. And at the end of that panel, I'm like, fingers crossed that they might say, and here's what's coming in 2027. I mean, we're 2 years away from the 50th anniversary of Star Wars, and it would feel nice to have a movie come out that year. I'm, of course, interested in the publishing panels, a big Star Wars book reader. With the High Republic wrapping up this year, I don't know that I'm expecting them to announce, like, a big new publishing initiative, but I'm excited to see what they have in the pipeline.
I guess most of their publishing right now is the High Republic. Like, there are the occasional other books that come out that aren't connected, like the Mace Windu book and Mask of Fear. Just having an overall publishing panel, not necessarily High Republic specific. I'm interested to see what they have to announce. I think they'll tease something about the next initiative.
I have no idea if they even have a new initiative planned, but just knowing that, if they said, like, Project Luminous 2 is coming, that would be great. It's also possible they could be like, yeah, the High Republic is wrapping up, but kind of like the Wayseeker novel. We're going to do a book all about so-and-so, and then we'll be like, well, we know that they survive Trials of the Jedi, so I don't know. I don't know what they could announce. It'll probably just be a complete random surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it could be some anniversary-related books or comic series or stories.
And then at the end on Friday, we've got the animation panel. I'm really stoked for that one because they all but confirmed they would be hinting at the future, showing us. I don't know if they're going to show anything, but here it does sound like they're going to tell us what's next.
Yeah, this might be the thing that I'm most excited for, assuming there will be an announcement for like whatever the next big animated show will be. I definitely expect some kind of big news here.
I keep just thinking about The Bad Batch and like missing watching it. And that series is just, I spend a lot of time, I feel, complaining about the streaming era. And as much as I loved Skeleton Crew, for example, I'm just like, 8 episodes is not enough.
It's not enough.
And the fact that The Bad Batch was 16 every season, it felt like we really took a long time to get to know the characters, and not every episode had to be some monumental event. Like, it felt like a classic TV show.
Yeah.
And I loved being able to just sit in that series. So I'm like really excited for another animated Star Wars series.
Yeah, I feel like you need more than like 10 episodes to kind of create this like mental routine and get more attached to a show. And I think the animated shows do a really good job with that. And yeah, I hope whatever it is, we get 30 episodes, 40, 50 episodes.
I expect it'll be closer to 16, but
fine.
Yeah.
We'll meet in the middle.
I'll take that. That's double the season of a live action show. I also like that they tended to be like 25 minutes or so every episode with like give or take a minute or two. It just felt more structured to me. And I'm a person who likes structure.
Sure. And two, when it comes to animated shows, that's typically something that they start working on really early on. So if they have something new to announce, they might even have like a trailer or a teaser for us.
Again, like I'm trying to not get my hopes up for too many things, but I do kind of think that whatever it is, my fingers are crossed it will be ready to come out later this year. We know we're getting Visions probably in like September or so. That's when they tend to release. So I'm expecting that maybe later in the year we'll get a new series. On Saturday, we've got both the Andor and Ahsoka panels. I figured I'd just kind of put them together. Andor is something that is interesting just because it's like so close to being released. Again, I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but like my fingers are crossed that like with Obi-Wan Kenobi or The Mandalorian Season 3, they might give us a little sneak peek.
Might play an episode.
Yeah, I don't know if they would play all three, but maybe they'll let us see the first one.
We've talked about this before, but the way that they did it before by like giving us all tickets and then having us all leave and come back later in the day to see something, I hope it's not one of those, because it's really hard to plan around something like that. Even though it was a great surprise, we had already made plans for that evening, so we couldn't even go. So I do hope, because the time block for the Andor panel is weirdly long, or like I can't remember when it says it ends, but there's like a big gap of time there on the
Between
schedule.
That and Ahsoka.
So I'm like, they might be planning, unless that's just like a planned break time for lunch, which is also a great idea. Don't forget to eat. But yeah, if they were to show us an episode or 2 or 3, it would be awesome to do it like right there in the panel.
Yeah, there is just something about. So yeah, we missed the Obi-Wan Kenobi one. You didn't go to the Mando Season 3 one just because we were exhausted. London was exhausting, but I like sucked it up.
We were exhausted and we had an event to go to like immediately after.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to go back to the hotel and take a shower and just like recuperate.
But I went, and like just seeing an episode with a bunch of Star Wars fans is so much fun.
Yeah.
Like hearing the cheers and the hoops and hollers and stuff. I would love to get to do that for Andor. The Ahsoka panel says it's focusing on a look back at Season 1, but I have to imagine they're going to talk about Season 2 at least a little bit.
I really hope so. Have they started filming with that at all?
I don't believe so, but they are going to be filming this year.
Yeah. Maybe they'll have some concept art or something to show us for Season 2.
Yeah.
Maybe pay tribute to Ray Stevenson and talk about Balin's character. We don't know exactly who's going to be on these big panels yet, like as far as the actors go. So
like the guest list isn't huge for this celebration, but I do wonder if there will be some surprise people that pop up.
Or yeah, like they could like play a video of
that's true.
The actors like saying hi and talking about the new season.
It's
maybe.
like we know who's there to do autographs and photos and everything, but that doesn't mean that some surprise people can't walk out on the stage.
Yeah.
And then Saturday evening, we've got the Bit Reactor panel talking about their new Star Wars video game, like a tactical strategy game. I keep reading this. I've never played XCOM, but I think this company made the XCOM games, or I've seen people comparing this to XCOM. Which I was kind of hoping this would be like a real-time strategy game, but I think it's more of a tactical strategy. Like
it's a turn-based tactical strategy game.
So yeah, I don't really know what to expect. I need to play an XCOM game, I guess.
Is this similar to like Imperial Assault or Armada, which are board games?
Maybe? I've never played Armada. Imperial Assault is, I mean, it's kind of a squad game, I guess, but you're just in charge of your character and you're playing with a group of people.
Well, the good news, it sounds like there was a market for this in the Star Wars universe, and like we didn't already have something very similar to it. So it could be fun to have something brand new that is a totally different kind of game.
Yeah, I'm excited for something new. Like, I've already gotten some of my dream games with the Star Wars Jedi, Star Wars Squadrons.
My cozy game will come.
Yeah. What did we decide that was going to be?
It was going to be Mando and Grogu living on Navarro.
That's right.
And Grogu kind of like convincing people to come and like build a little town around their little hut. And then Grogu has to go do daily tasks.
I feel like there could be a good Ewok game too, kind of like the Shire game that's coming out.
Ooh, yeah.
Just a cozy Ewok game, but occasionally you have to go find and eat a stormtrooper.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm just excited to know what this game is. Like, I don't think it'll be something that I normally seek out, but I'm like I said, I'm gonna play an XCOM,
Yeah.
and I'll know what to expect a little more.
Great that they have dedicated an entire panel
Yeah.
to this announcement and this game. Sometimes they'll just say like a general gaming panel. Well, they'll talk about like multiple things.
I remember the Fallen Order panel back in Anaheim, yeah, and I really liked that panel. So I'm hoping for something like that.
And because EA and Respawn are there and involved, if they drop a little Jedi 3 business, then that would be great.
I'll be thrilled. I'd be thrilled for some Jedi 3 business.
Let's get into that business.
And then on Sunday, the last major panel of the weekend is all about Visions Volume 3. And I am psyched for that panel because honestly, the Visions Volume 2 panel back in London was one of my favorite panels that we went to.
It was a great panel.
Getting to hear from a bunch of different storytellers from a bunch of different cultures talking about what Star Wars means to them and talking about how they injected their culture and their take and how they injected their culture into Star Wars. Like seeing the Indian Inquisitor who was like based off of a demon from Indian mythology. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah. Especially the fact that it's in Japan. I think this just fits to be like a really big deal for this celebration.
Yeah.
And are all of the studios Japanese?
Yes.
For
so it's
3?
back to like Visions Volume 1, where this time it's all anime.
Yeah. So that's really exciting. I'm sure the people that did these shorts are going to be psyched to be able to do this in their home country and talk about it and maybe show us an episode. They showed us one in London.
I'm sure we'll get to see at least one. So I'm excited for that. Excited to see if any of them are going to be sequels. I know I keep saying like, come on, Ninth Jedi 2.
Yeah, we heard from the voice actor of the Ronin guy, so we were like, maybe they're doing a sequel.
I do think it's cool that we're getting an anime panel and a manga panel, which I'm like, they have an entire panel dedicated to Star Wars manga, which I think they could talk about the Edge of Balance books. And we know that there's another one on the way, but I'm wondering if there's more to learn there.
The other one on the way sounds really fun. It's set in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, Path of the Lightsaber, which sounds interesting. That's again like I'm just not very well versed in manga or anime, although Visions Volume 1 did help me get into that world a little more. I was thinking of watching Robotech on the way over on the plane ride, because I know Robotech inspired Star Wars Resistance, and I was reading about it the other day. I was like, this sounds interesting. So.
Have you ever seen Akira? The animated film?
Nope.
We should watch that too.
Like there are so many anime films that I just have completely missed out on. It's a huge blind spot for me.
The reason I bring that up, there was a film festival that had one of the short films listed as Star Wars Visions. And the person that did it has worked on Akira. They had worked on like Kill Bill, some of the animated stuff in Kill Bill.
That, by the way, Kill Bill, that animated sequence, I think about it all the time because I really hate teeth stuff, like teeth trauma. And there's a part where a guy like gets stabbed and he grits his teeth so hard
Oh,
that his
God.
teeth shatter. And
Yuck.
I'm like, no.
No.
I just remember being like, no, in the theater.
Well, hopefully we get to meet this guy and you can tell him how much you didn't enjoy that. But he also worked on The Boy and the Heron. Anyways, we just got like a little shot, like a single shot of what this short was going to look like. And it's kind of trippy looking. It was like stormtroopers with like what looks like splattered paint.
I think we got a title for it. I think it's called Black.
I think the title was Black. The description just says, a psychedelic battle between the past and the present, light and darkness, life and death, rages in the tormented psyche of an Imperial soldier close to defeat. So that sounds pretty rad.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of the Visions stuff. Like, just the idea that we can take a step back from what's canon and like all the baggage that comes with characters that we've known and loved for 50 years, and like, let's just play with Star Wars and have some fun. And like, I'm thinking of like the Twins short. Let's make a lightsaber that just goes into infinity just because. And it's like, we don't have to worry about how this works or what, it doesn't affect anything else. It's just there to be cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you get approached to create one of these shorts, you're basically starting this out like playing with action figures. Like, what are their names? What do they do for a living? Like, where's the setting at? It invokes kind of like a feeling of childhood and just being able to be a little more carefree with Star Wars.
And just say like, what if this, and have no limitations on it. So those are all the major panels. Is there anything that isn't on the list that you wish was going to be there?
I mean, if Grogu can't have his very own panel,
where's his meet and greet? Seriously,
to meet and greet panel, something that's one thing.
I genuinely do think they could rake in money if they just had a meet and greet with the puppet. Like, come on,
the puppet's too expensive, and
keep him
if
in
I
a
couldn't
glass case or something.
No, if I couldn't touch him, I'm not paying for a meet and greet. If I can't hold him, no deal.
Okay.
More seriously, there was no Revenge of the Sith anniversary panel announced, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I don't understand why. Like, no Revenge of the Sith, no Force Awakens. But Revenge of the Sith is the big one. I mean, it's 20 years.
I guess, like, Oscar Isaac having his big panel moderated by Vanessa Marshall.
Yeah.
That will be a lot of kind of like a look back at Force Awakens. But yeah, no Revenge of the Sith panel is surprising.
I wonder if it was just like a guest situation, but like Hayden's going. So that's enough to me.
Yeah. Weird. I know they do a ton of segments back and forth on the Star Wars live stage. Maybe they'll just kind of like incorporate celebrating Revenge of the Sith into the live stage show and do snippets there.
Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely talk about it. And we didn't mention, the Star Wars show live stage is always a lot of fun, and they have their own segments. At London, that's where we got the Star Wars Jedi trailer. So there is some potential for more stuff to be announced or talked about that isn't in a major panel.
Shout out to everyone working on that live stage, because they have to like go all day nonstop, make sure everything is going well, and they're live streaming a bunch of stuff. It sounds like a nightmare to run and work on that stuff backstage.
One of the coolest, luckiest things we've ever been able to do is in 2019, we got to be on the stage to break down the Rise of Skywalker trailer. So we got to be backstage, and it was wild. Like, just so many people and so many computers and so much. I was like, I don't want to accidentally touch anything.
Yeah.
I feel like I'd poke a wire on accident, and it's like, well, everything broke.
I remember, the only thing I remember before going on stage is like being handed the microphone that had like the Star Wars live box thingy on it. And I think I just like went blank after that. I was like, what am I doing? Where am I?
How do we get here?
How am I here?
We're going to mix up our usual order for the show and just move right into last week in fandom, because I thought that this week is a good time to once again talk about all of the fan panels that are happening, especially because some were announced that I didn't know about. So I'm just going to run through everything that we know from our friends. So Friday at 10 a.m., Who's the Boss? Friday at 12 p.m., Ahsoka's Underworld, Mythology, Folklore, Fairy Tales, and Joseph Campbell with What the Force. Friday at 1, Star Wars Uplink. Friday at 3 p.m., Metachlorians, An Alliance of Science, Mythology, and Magic by Scotty J. Rowe. Magic.
That will be magical.
It will be. I'm looking forward to seeing what Scotty gets up to when he has an audience, like just of 100 people or more in front of him.
Mm-hmm. I hope there's giveaways and goodies and just confetti, spotlights,
if you've ever
smoke machine, like, give me all of it.
If you've ever watched the Bomb Bad cast, know that you might be in for a fever dream of a panel. I'm curious to see if he balances that, because I know he's also a teacher, so I know he can give a professional presentation.
Oh, yeah. We might have a quiz at the end.
Right. I'm like, is he going to go all the way professional, or will there be like weird video clips played in the middle of his stuff?
A multimedia experience. Mm-hmm. I'm ready.
Friday at 4:30 p.m., the George Lucas Super Live Adventure History with Blast Points podcast, which is such a wonderful name for a panel.
This panel sounds incredible.
On to Saturday at 10 a.m., Talking Bay 94. Saturday at 11:30 a.m., Star Wars Geek Girl. Saturday at 1 p.m., celebrating the stories of Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor with Stardust Records. Love that.
Yeah.
I definitely would love to go to a Star Wars Jedi panel. Saturday at 2:30, Blast Points again on the HoloNet news stage. Moving on to Sunday at 9:45 a.m., History in a Galaxy Far, Far Away with Daughters of Ferrix and Chris Kimpshaw. That's another one I'm really excited for. Sunday at 11 a.m., Friends of the Force. 12:30 p.m., Space Waffles. And Sunday at 2 p.m., Dork Forces.
That's not even all of the fan panels. Those are just some of the people that we personally know. A lot of those sound really, really fun. I'm really psyched to have a little extra time to be able to go to these. And plus side, if you don't get into any of the big main programming panels, you can, you may also get into one of the side panels that will be streaming it, but you can plan to go to any of these other panels that are scheduled around the same time.
That is something that we always try to shout out. We back in 2017, we've told this story, but we had a rough experience where we were supposed to be in a panel and they didn't let us in. We waited all night.
So glad they don't do overnight lines anymore.
We waited all night, tried to sleep on a concrete floor. They were like, everyone in here's getting in. And we got to like the front of the line and they were like, nope, not anymore.
We're full.
And so if that happens to you, just know that it doesn't ruin the celebration experience. It's still so much fun. I mean, that was a bummer, but we just went and took a nap and slept it off. And then
we watched the panel
other stuff
on the TV in the hotel.
And then we went to some of the smaller panels and they were a great time.
Mm-hmm. That's one other thing, as far as advice goes, try not to get your hopes up too much for any of the big panels, because there are going to be reservation systems happening. And if you don't get into the one panel that you really wanted to get in, try not to let it ruin the day or the weekend, because that's definitely happened to us. It's happened to a lot of people, but there's just so many other things to do at Celebration.
Yeah, just take a breath and then go find something else to do and you'll probably enjoy it, because we had that experience where we just couldn't get into the main panel of the day and we were like, well, this is just going to ruin everything, and it didn't. Mm-hmm. That was our first Celebration.
That was the first night. I think Thursday night was when we did that. So
also wanted to shout out Sky Talkers podcast. I have not listened to this yet, but Molly's been listening to their Celebration preparation podcast.
Yeah, a tips and tricks episode. I was trying to get through it on 1.5 or 2 times speed, because I forgot it came out, and then it came out and we had to do this. Anyways, Charlotte has been to Japan. I think she said she went last year, but she has a lot of really great tips for traveling to Japan in general, especially if you're going to go to Disney. She said a lot of good stuff about going to the Disney parks, and then kind of just general Celebration tips that are fun to know.
Yeah, you were already telling me just Japan tips that sounded great, and they were things that I hadn't heard. And I've been on the Japan travel tips subreddit for the past few months, and you were already telling me things that I'm like, oh, this sounds kind of basic. I should have seen this somewhere.
Yeah, just expecting to have cash and coins on you, or how the tickets for the buses and the trains and stuff works. So a lot of really good, just general information to know.
We're going to go ahead and move into last week in questions as well, because they're all about Star Wars Celebration. So we're just going to save last week in canon for last this week around. But Damien Vonderhaar asks if we think there will be a teaser for Mando and Grogu at Celebration.
I would assume yes.
I think they're going to show at least something, because at D23, they showed a little bit of footage. It wasn't a lot, so I think they'll probably maybe show an extended version of that.
They're done filming, I think, maybe not including pickups or whatever, and they're in post-production, so I would assume that they put something together to show everybody.
I agree. I think that they're going to have a trailer of some sort.
Teaser, yeah.
I don't think it'll be, like, the full story of what's going to happen. Maybe Rada the Hutt will be in it.
Oh,
Maybe
what if Jeremy
Imbo.
Allen White walks out in costume?
Do you think he has a costume?
Oh.
That would be incredible if he, like, just chose to come out in one of those inflatable Jabba things. Like, this is what he wore.
What if he's not even playing Rada and he comes out in that? He's like, ha.
Just to keep throwing people off.
Yeah.
I'm imagining him kind of like Benedict Cumberbatch playing Smaug in the Hobbit movies. Like, crawling. He was like, that's how they say, I was always a Smaug guy. Like,
Sure.
That's how I said it growing up. But
I'm not making fun of you. It's every time I hear someone say the name like that, I feel like I have to say it just to remind myself that's how you say it.
well, now you've like triggered something in me where I'm like, I prefer Smaug, but I know Smaug is correct, so I say it that way.
Yeah.
The same way that I think Tantive 4 sounds better, but I know the correct way is to say Tantive 4. And every time I say it, people yell at me, but I'm like, why are you booing me? I'm right. Like,
I like Tantive.
I like Tantive, but that's just because that's how I grew up saying it.
It just reminds me of just how Star Wars-y Star Wars can be.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, you're going to say the name like that? I see what it is. Again, great opportunity to bring the little guy out on stage and let him run around, do a flip, anything, wave at me personally. I'm just saying.
What if they did say, like, is there anyone in the audience that wants to hold Grogu? Like, how far would you go?
R.I.P. to everyone sitting in front of me.
Just, like, start punching in the back of the head immediately.
It's going to be like a cartoon wind up of legs and then pew.
Oh, like that. I was imagining, like, the cartoony dust cloud where, like, people are getting thrown out of it as you make your way to the stage. Eric Clausen asks if we think there will be any other news announced at Celebration. So we did kind of mention, like, the possibility of the Star Wars Show Live stage putting out some news.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's always a chance, and I think I would say a solid probably, but I don't know where it's going to happen. If it'll be the live stage, if it'll be at the end of one of the big panels. But I don't think they're going to announce any more movies other than like what we know is in the works or like what we may have already heard of.
Right. I don't think that would be a smart move, given that they talked about 3 movies 2 years ago, and neither of them seem any closer to release. Yeah. Instead, we're doing Mando and Grogu and then Sean Levy's movie.
They could announce... So I know there was like a whole poodoo storm of stuff about Kathleen Kennedy. Is she retiring? What's happening? If she is planning on stepping down and letting someone else take over her role, not leaving Lucasfilm, if she is planning on like doing some kind of a change up, she might announce that there. I don't know.
If they had a straight up Lucasfilm panel, I could see that maybe, but since they're not, I don't know when they would do that.
Mm-hmm. You're right, though, about the fact that they may not have just been able to get all of the guests that they would normally for a big showcase panel, because I remember like they had a full orchestra there. John Williams was there. So like if they can't get all of that secured and like all the guests and stuff, it makes sense that they wouldn't do a showcase panel.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be a big to-do to me. Like,
I mean, they probably think it does.
If it's just hey, we're going to talk about what Lucasfilm is up to for an hour, that would be fine with me. Graham Gaskill asks, which panel outside of the big ones are we most excited for?
Yeah, there's like a lot of other little panels that are part of the main programming. There's one that's called like Celebrating the Sidekicks of Star Wars, and it's got Anthony Daniels, it's got Ahmed Best. That one sounds like a really fun time. I think Anthony Daniels is just hilarious whenever he has to like be on stage to talk about anything.
He's such a showman.
He is. So that will be a blast, I'm sure. There's a celebrating 50 years of ILM panel that sounds pretty neat. But other than that, I mean, a lot of the fan panels that we mentioned, I would love to go to as many of those as possible.
Yeah, the three that we kind of highlighted, I'm very excited about. The history of Star Wars with Daughters of Ferrix and Chris Kimshaw, who wrote The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire. Sounds great. Scotty's Midichlorians panel, I'm sure is going to be a wild time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always down to talk about the Star Wars Jedi games, or just sit and listen to other people talk about them.
Yeah, and I know Blast Points has been doing a lot of prep and research for the, what is it called? The big
George Lucas Super Adventure Hour? I can't remember.
Yeah.
The George Lucas Super Live Adventure History.
Amazing.
But that reminds me, there's also a panel about Star Wars in the 90s. Which that's my era.
Yeah.
So I would kind of love to go revisit all that.
Talk about all the crazy book covers.
They just put out the new cover for Shadows of the Empire. And I think it's hilarious that you looked at it and you were like, oh, they made Dash look so buff. And I saw it and I went, oh, they nerfed Dash. In my mind, like because he was one of those like He-Man action figures with like little legs and like a...
But he wasn't even on the old cover, so upgrade.
Huh?
Was he not on the old cover?
Yeah.
Hilo.
Oh, no, he's not.
He's not.
You're right.
Who knows Legends books now?
But I just like in my mind, I'm thinking of that Dash action figure.
Sure. Which I did not own as a kid.
No. Fun story about like when Molly first saw my collection of Star Wars action figures and she picked up Prince Shizor and was like, oh, you have a Dragon Ball Z action figure in here.
That's what he looks like.
He does look like a Namekian.
I did have the N64 Shadows of the Empire game though, but I never played past the Battle of Hoth because I just thought that was super fun.
It was super fun.
The rest of the game seemed really hard, so I just never bothered.
I remember there being a story of back when like you could rent video games and systems from Blockbuster.
Yeah.
They made the developer of the Lion King game make level 2 extra hard.
Yeah.
Just so it would drive game sales. And I feel like Shadows of the Empire on the N64 is the complete opposite of that. Where level 1 is so much fun. And it's like, if you never make it past that, who cares?
Who cares? That was exactly how my child brain thought. Same with the Willow original NES game. I didn't know how to play that game, but I loved the music and I liked like booping around in the little town.
Just booping around.
And visiting people. I didn't know what I was doing.
I'm Willow and I'm booping. And finally, we moved it down to the end, but for last week in canon, there were some new episodes of Young Jedi Adventures that came out, and the High Republic Adventures issue 16. We can quickly cover Young Jedi Adventures because we've only watched one episode so far. But it was really good.
It was a banger.
Yeah.
It felt kind of like a mid-season premiere, I guess.
I guess it was.
Because this is like the rest of the episodes for season 2. But normally the episodes come out and each episode is 2 separate stories, kind of back to back. But this one was all one. So
and when I saw that, I was like, oh, something's about to happen.
Yeah, so this was definitely main storyline, main programming level.
I talk about like the X-Files and the Smoking Man, and whenever he shows up, you're like, oh, something big's happening. Mm-hmm. Now I kind of feel like, oh, it's a Tabor episode.
Yeah.
So pay attention. And I think it's pretty great that, you know, this is a show for young children. And most of the episodes, we just kind of like, we put them on, we do watch them, and we're like, oh, that was nice, that was cute. And we don't really think about them much after that. But the Kai Tabor storyline at the end of season 1, like, hooked me really good. And I have really been enjoying it.
It's definitely going in a interesting and fun direction. And there's a lot to learn. I'll say that.
But in comics, we got the High Republic Adventures 16. And in this one, the Battle of Eriadu continues. This was kind of an odd issue because we find out that the storm wall came down in the title of it. I kind of feel like there were some scheduling release timings that could have been handled better surrounding this, because obviously we know the storm wall is going to come down on the High Republic, but the fact that it happened off screen and then the Republic fleet shows up to help in the battle, it's all just kind of like, wait, what?
Does the whole fleet show up?
I mean, enough to help.
Because, like, maybe it's a ruse. Maybe, like, the storm wall isn't actually fully down.
I think it's fully down. I don't think that I don't understand what ruse would be happening that the Nile would let.
I don't either. Just the fact that, like you said, it's happening here. And I even asked you, I was like, when did the storm wall come down? Because I was like, did I miss something?
Because it's treated as if we know that it comes down. And I'm like, we do know that it will come down, but it seems like something that will happen in a book. Like maybe it's going to happen in Into the Light that comes out in a couple weeks. And then this was supposed to come out after that, but I don't know. Just maybe the timing of some of these issues is a little strange.
Maybe it'll happen towards the beginning of a book.
Maybe.
And we can be like, okay, well, this wasn't like the main plot line of this book was that the storm wall comes down.
Mm-hmm. It's just one of those things that, like, it's not a huge spoiler.
Right. We know it happens eventually.
Right. But it would have felt a little more impactful if the timing had worked out so that, like, we read about it happening and then we get this comic issue and that allows the Republic fleet to come save the day.
Right.
That would have felt really good to read together. But I know that that's just one of the struggles of organizing such a huge publishing initiative like this. Other than that, it was just kind of like a lot of fighting, an action-heavy issue.
Yep.
So I don't feel like there's a whole lot to talk about.
I haven't really been following closely with this series from the beginning, just kind of since we started talking about them more on these shows. So, yeah, it just kind of felt like another kind of bridge issue.
Yeah, I'm not super into the Battle of Eriadu stuff. Like, I think that this could have been built up a little better if this planet were like Hetzal or some place that had been important from the beginning of Phase 1. But Eriadu, I felt like just kind of came out of nowhere in Phase 3. And like there's all this fighting surrounding it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't understand why it's such like an important planet for both the Jedi and the Nile. But that's it for last week in canon. So next week we have Fall of the Jedi issue 2 and The Rise of Skywalker adaptation issue 2 as well.
I like the Fear of the Jedi so far.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the Marvel High Republic runs. I think that they've been consistently pretty great.
Yeah, and the Rise of Skywalker had some fun surprises in it too.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if issue 2 has more. But that's it for last week in Star Wars. So if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Blue Sky, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
And consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.